Coming up on Theater Talk.
There's this naive idea that, you know, every time you go to see a new play by a playwright, you know, you're a tabula rasa. You know, you have no opinion. You've never seen another piece of its work. The truth is, if anything, you're going in looking for reasons to change your mind.
Theater Talk is made possible in part by the CUNY TV Foundation.
Some like to sink and think in their easy chairs of all the things they've risen above. Some like to be profound by reading Proust and Pound. Me like to live, me like to laugh, me like to love.
From New York City, this is Theater Talk. I'm the show's producer, Susan Haskins.
And I'm Michael Riedel of the New York Post.
So, Michael, Follies is fantastic. I've said it before, I'll say it again, and we're going to talk about it tonight.
Listen, it's a great way to start the new theater season with an absolutely brilliant, thrilling revival of Follies at the Marquis Theatre that is turning out to be a huge hit, in no small part because of our two guests tonight. We are joined by, can I say this, a theatrical legend?
Oh, please. No.
How about,
Yes. No, it makes me sound too old.
How about just a pro? Just a pro, all right? An old pro, okay. Elaine, Paige, who just tears the roof off the theater with I'm Still Here. She, of course, is the original Evita and Grisabella in Cats, and back on Broadway in Follies. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
And a friend of mine from my private life, who is a great, great guy that I have dinner with his wife from time to time. Wonderful actor Ron Raines, who you know from The Guiding Light. And also one of the most beautiful voices in New York, who's playing Ben in Follies. Welcome.
Thank you, Michael. Glad to be here.
All right, so guys, when did you get a sense that for the first time in the history of Follies, a show that sort of is a cult show, but that has never actually caught on with mainstream audience, that this was going to be different, that something about this show is working now that it's never worked that way before?
It's a difficult one to answer that, really, isn't it? It sort of crept up on us a bit.
I didn't really think about it that way.
I don't think I thought of that either. We were just, you know, initially it was going to be a run in Washington. For 3 months.
Which we were all excited about.
Yes, very excited. It was fantastic fun. We had a wonderful month's rehearsal together.
There was no thought of Broadway in your minds when you went
Not
down?
at all.
No, not mine, I don't
No,
think.
me neither.
I think.
No, I just thought, 3 months in Washington, that'd be rather nice to sing this wonderful song in this brilliant musical that I've never seen and didn't really know very well, I have to admit.
Really?
Well, no, I knew, you know, that several of the songs, but out of context, of course. I had never ever seen a production of Follies, and it wasn't until I was asked if I might like to do this that I, you know, got the script and read it and sort of got to grips with it at all.
Was it landing with the audience in Washington, D.C., where the people
Very
getting
much
it
so.
with the the troubled marriages, the regrets and all that?
Well, I think a lot of the fanatics and huge fans of Follies came to Washington not expecting it to come to New York, and they knew they were going to see 41 people on stage and hear
Big orchestra.
Jonathan Tunick's orchestrations, and so the train down was filled and the audiences were fantastic.
Yeah.
As they have been here.
Yeah, I was struck, though, the other night I went, and it's not a theater full of just showbiz fanatics or Follies fanatics.
No.
I mean, there are people who, you know, one would think you might see them maybe at Cats or Les Miserables, but hanging now on every word of the drama of the piece.
I think, and I don't know, but I think that Follies has reached more of a mainstream. Its stories and its characters aren't so shocking as they were in '71. I think in 1971 we had 3 channels on the TV. We had phones that you punch or rotary. The communication, we didn't have Dr. Phil and all the self-help books. That we didn't have the word dysfunctional family, I don't think, at that time in history. We all began to realize later on that we're all came from dysfunctional families.
I think there's more of an identification. That's what you're saying,
Yes.
isn't
Yeah,
it?
that the
From the audience to the characters on stage. I think that's, as you say, everything you've just said is that's the key to it, really.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not so unusual anymore to see these dysfunctional people, obsessive behaviour, etc., etc.
I want to ask you both about two great songs you do, and if you can kind of take me through how you learn the song and the particular struggles of a song. You have a song that, you know, every great diva sings, I'm Still Here. How did you approach the song? Because I've never heard it done the way you do it. It's usually done kind of cynical, world-weary. You bring a kind of anger and defiance to it.
I've gotten through. Hey, lady, aren't you heard this? Wow, what a looker you were. It's been quite a journey for me, this song. When I first started to grapple with it, I can honestly say, you know, it's a long song. It, as you know, it spells out the social history of America in the first part of the song. Then it turns and it's more of a personal story of her own story. Stephen Sondheim told me that he'd written it for Joan Crawford.
Oh.
And that it was really about her life and struggles. And he told me that, you know, no matter what obstacle was put in front of her, in front of Carlotta, she would manage to overcome it.
Did you have to do a little research to get some of the old pop culture references?
Oh, I
5D
did
on babies,
Yeah,
major
I
bows.
did it all, of course, because not being an American, and yeah, no, I certainly had to do that. I mean, because unlike in England, I mean, we wouldn't know what half of that meant. And in fact, I tried it out in a concert that I was doing prior to coming to Washington, and I omitted that section because I knew it would have no relevance to an English audience. So yes, absolutely, I Googled away for all my worth to find out about 5D on babies and BB's bathysphere and so on and so on. I think I did know about Shirley Temple, but
But it used to be Brenda Fraser.
It did.
In the original, it was Brenda
that's
Fraser.
right. But again, that was a discussion with Stephen, and he specifically asked me to sing Shirley Temple. So he was very valuable. It was fantastic to have the author
yes,
there,
very much.
you know, to be able to give
Clarify.
you that clarification and insight. It was absolutely fantastic.
And let me ask you, Ron, you do an absolutely stunning rendition of The Road You Didn't Take, which is my favorite song in the show. Did Steve talk to you, work this one out with you to some extent?
He helped me enormously, and he clarified what that song was about. And I always struggled with it. I was trying to interpret it in a way, and I did it so many different ways. And he came in and worked with us a while back, and he basically said, "You're lying. You're lying. She's lying about Buddy, you're lying about, everybody's lying, and they realize that their lives are a lie at the very end." And he says, "You know, you're talking, you're bragging, I don't remember, I don't." He says, "You remember everything." He says, "You think about it constantly." And of course, the young Ben and the young Phyllis and the young Buddy, as they're talking, that's what's going on in my head constantly. You know, it's what drives me, and it's what torments me. And I mean, he would just say one word, and it would just, it would be, as Bernadette said, he can say one word, and it's the key that unlocks.
So for you it was line, and for you it was
I don't know if it was
triumph.
Well, triumph was certainly it. But he said to me the same kind of thing, that it's not a performance; it's introspective, and it's her thinking about her life to herself and what has happened to her. And there was one line particularly in the lyric that I didn't understand, and I grappled with it, and I tried it so many different ways, as I did also the song entirely. But this one line, which was, "Bing called a pinko, commie tool, got through it stinko by my pool. I should have gone to an acting school, that seems clear." And I said to him, does she think that she's a rotten actress, you know, that she should have gone, if she'd gone to drama school or something, she would have been better at it and not had to, you know, have rich men in her life and so on? And he said, no, that line is with reference to the communistic situation, the trials, the communistic, the
yeah.
McCarthy.
Mid-50s,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
54.
Been called a pinko commie tool.
Yes, and he said it was with reference to that apparently Joan Crawford, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, Joan Crawford was such an actress, both on and off stage, that at the trials she acted her way out of the situation, leaving enough room for there to be doubt about her, leaving enough room, in other words, you know, that there was a possibility of doubt. So, in other words, she's clarifying to herself, I should have gone to an acting school, that seems clear.
Because I'm really good.
So someone said I'm sincere, so I'm here. That's why I'm that good. And of course, had I not asked him specifically about that line, I would never have known that. How would you know if you didn't actually have the ability
nor
to
would our
ask him?
viewers. So
I would never have known that Ben is lying in that song. Ron, you have the breakdown scene at the end, love, laugh, and live. And I watched you the other night, not with the opening night audience, who of course knows the song, The Breakdown. And the first thing somebody says, has he forgotten his lines? It's so real that they don't quite know what's going on.
Good.
Brilliant.
You get that sense of dislocation in the audience when you do that?
I don't get a sense. I mean, I'm always glad to hear that because it means I'm doing my work. But no, it's a real payoff for me as and Ben to really be able to go there from being so controlled.
Yeah. I know you talked to John McMartin, who did it originally, and he said whatever problems you have with it, you'll figure out, indicating that there will be problems.
We're always figuring them out, aren't we?
We've all got
it's a
aches and
challenge.
pains somewhere, you know.
It's a challenge.
Is it
challenging.
Yeah.
Is it exhausting? I mean, what do you?
Yes.
In your
In a good way. In a fulfilled way.
We had Elaine Stritch on this show once, and she quoted Ethel Merman, who told her, if you want to be the star of a Broadway show, you have to live like a bleeping nun.
That's it. About it, really.
Well, you know, everybody, and we talk about it. A lot of our friends say, "Oh, we're coming to town. We're going to see you Thursday night. Will you have a drink afterwards?" I say, you will have a drink afterwards. I won't. I mean, I go home.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
we all pretty much live the lives of monks and nuns.
I think that's the case in the theatre. That's the life. It's always been that way, and with, you know, it's never going to change, is it? I mean, that's
There are
that's
these
what
little
we
windows.
love.
There are those little windows that you find. Oh, I can go out to dinner there, and
You have to organise
yeah,
yourself,
it's
don't you?
and you're not
For the
for sure
treats,
where the
little
lines
treats
are.
Now and again.
But boy, it's nice to be in a hit.
The
isn't
real
it?
Oh,
treat
it's
is, I
great,
was going to
yeah.
say that, the real treat is to be in a hit.
Absolutely, and it is.
Fantastic.
All right, Follies at the Marquis, a brilliant, brilliant revival. I think it's going to be with us for quite a while. Thank you very much, Elaine Paige, who plays Carlotta and brings the house down with I'm Still Here, and our friend Ron Raines, who is absolutely brilliant in The Road You Didn't Take.
Oh, thank you, Mike.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for this little treat. Yeah.
We happen to adore each other.
I can tell. But she's fun.
Black sable one day, next day it goes into hawk, but I'm here. Top billing Monday, Tuesday you're touring in stock, but I'm here.
Charles Isherwood, the drama critic for the New York Times, has broken new ground for critics, I believe, recently in the New York Times after panning a play by the poor little playwright Adam Rapp, a playwright that Charles has hacked to death for years. Charles announced that he was no longer going to review Adam Rapp's plays. He doesn't like the plays. He's taken himself out of reviewing them. Charles, pretty bold step for a critic. Why did you do that?
Well, I didn't think it was all that bold, to be honest. After 10 years of reviewing his plays, savagely as you would have it, fairly as I would have it, I thought that at this point we should give someone else a chance to assess his work for the Times. I mean, it's fairly clear at this point that we don't see eye to eye on what a dramatically viable play is, and we have a lot of great critics at the Times. And I really felt, I mean, I've been attacked for, as you say, you know, being quite vicious toward him, but this was actually, I thought, sort of a generous thing to do. Basically, say,
I've ruined your career, but I'm done. I'm not going to do it again.
I've ruined your career
Well,
enough.
his career's hardly ruined. Yeah.
No, that's the thing. He's produced so often. He writes so many plays that I felt that it would be good to have somebody else weigh in on his work at the Times.
Have you heard from Adam Rapp since?
I have not.
Since this blog posting came out?
No.
But Charles, you're one of the two most prominent critics at the New York Times, and Adam Rapp, a Pulitzer Prize nominee, has certainly earned the right to be covered by one of the main critics at the Times. In terms of the caste system of the theater, is it really kosher for you, such a prominent critic, to slough him off and say, well, I won't cover him anymore?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, you can draw your own conclusions about why Ben does not review Adam Rapp's plays. You know, since I've been there, he has not.
And that's not your call?
No, it's not. You know, I don't have necessarily choice about what I cover to a certain degree. But in this case, I really felt that since I'd been, you know, unfavorably reviewing his plays for so many years, it was becoming almost a strange pathology. I thought, like, you know, this is really unfair to him, and in a way it's, you know, unfair to readers who maybe want to have another perspective on this guy's plays. So I'm hoping, and we have good critics. I mean, yes, you know, there's me and Ben on staff, but we have a lot of talented writers who write reviews for us.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's
but
just
Susan,
that you have the status.
Susan's point is well taken. If you and Ben, you know, the two most powerful drama critics in America, I've decided that this guy is no good, we're not even going to bother, isn't that even more insulting?
Well, no, I don't think so, honestly. I feel like, well, for one thing, I feel like he's a singular case because he writes so many plays. But I don't think, you know, I didn't mean to make this giant statement that, you know, he is beneath my, you know, my notice. I'm going to see his plays. I will continue to see his plays. I'm convinced, in fact, that now that I've said I'm not going to review his plays, he will write a great one, and I'll have to, you know.
And you'll have missed it.
Well, you know what, I can write about it. You know what I mean? I can write an arts and leisure piece. I don't say I'm never going to write about him again, or, you know, who knows down the line. But I feel like right now, considering that other critics are enthusiastic about his work, and I'm most definitely not, I felt like, you know, maybe next time it's time to give him a chance with another writer.
And what's the decision made by your editor? Do they support you in your decision not to review Adam Rapp anymore?
Well, I mean, you know, we're going to talk about it, but you know, my feeling is that I've I've made this decision, and you're going to have to put a gun to my head.
Or at poor old Adam Rapp's.
Yeah, no, you know, I think they were very, they were happy about, well, they were certainly happy about the piece. I got some good feedback from people at the Times, and they were, you know, happy about the many mean things people said about it too, I'm sure.
Yes, and with the response to the piece, what did people say who objected to this?
Well, there were all sorts of things. I mean, very often when you look at those comments, you realize that people aren't necessarily responding to what you specifically wrote, but to their general, they have an animosity toward you about some review you've written. I mean, I got a lot of, you hate all young playwrights, you're trying to destroy the theater, or you only like Sarah Rule, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And the fact is, if you look at the new playwrights I've been enthusiastic about over the past 10 years, they're not all the same. I mean, Tracy Letts does not write the same kind of play as Sarah Rule, or Annie Baker, or Will Eno. I mean,
your favorite, Tom Paine.
well, a lot of these, yeah, I mean, there you go.
There you go.
You know, I think I have fairly
Somebody said to
Catholic
me-
taste, contrary to what people would, you know, these people seem to think.
Somebody said to me the other day, you give it to him for Tom Paine.
You have to
You know
say
what? You can't win. You write bad reviews, people attack you. You write good reviews, people attack you. That's what it means to be a critic. The geese will cackle, and then they stop cackling.
Speaking of geese, the motif of dreams of flying, dreams of falling.
We
Adam
have to
Rapp,
give a little context here about Tom Paine. Tom Paine was an early play that you reviewed when you first started at the Times by Will Eno, and you gave it an over-the-top rave and really made that guy's career. But it was one of those very strange plays that people went to sort of scratching their heads thinking, what has Charles Isherwood sent me to?
Well, I mean, it's a play that is not going to speak to everyone, but the same thing with Adam Rapp. That's why I feel like it's time for me to maybe step
What
aside.
is it about Adam Rapp's sensibility that bothers you?
Well, I don't want to get into the game of bashing him again, because people have attacked me for writing that column saying, you're just trying to beat up on him one more time. And that's not what I was trying to do. I was just trying to make a point about.
But it's a fair question, though.
But here's the thing. You know, I can appreciate many styles of playwriting, but I don't feel that his plays really have any emotional truth in them. I think they're very showy, they're very flashy, they've got all sorts of strange violence and surreal incident in them. But it doesn't really seem, you know, I go to plays to see a reflection of, or an illumination of life.
But he's
And his
making
plays-
a social commentary.
Let him finish.
Not in my view, he isn't. He's making a false one.
But Charles, I did see Dreams of Flying, Dreams of Falling.
You mean the
which
title
is
sounds
about,
awful to me.
Which is about, he's attacking rich people, but it was, as John Lars said, campy. I mean, it was a little heavy-handed in parts, but I found it entertaining, and it certainly was attacking a class of people that I thought deserved to be attacked.
Good. The New York Times can hire you, and you can review
No,
Adam Rapp
because
plays from
I
now on.
cannot write the way Charles Isherwood can write.
Well, I feel it was doing it in such an obvious way that, as I say, does not draw on the way, you know, people of that ilk generally behave. So it was, and you know, using imagery that was borrowed from other plays. I mean, the ending was clearly drawn from The Goat, and you know, he just has people behaving bizarrely for no apparent reason.
Now, his plays are sort of hyper heterosexual. Are you a heterophobic critic, Charles?
I don't think they're hyper heterosexual, to be honest. I don't, you know, I mean, they're definitely hypersexual, but the truth is I've probably seen more naked men in Adam Rapp plays over the past 10 years. So by your theory, Michael, I really should be a big fan. Yeah, he's a big fan of putting sex and other, you know, I was going to say unpleasant things on stage, but that's not what I mean.
Now, the only other thing, though, Charles, is we know a lot of critics who are now out of work, and you know, wonderful critics who can't even get jobs. And here you are, you have, you know, your nice job at the New York Times, and aren't they kind of paying you to suspend your bias against an artist and look at each individual work by itself?
That's precisely what I do every time.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but there's this naive idea that, you know, every time you go to see a new play by a playwright, you know, you're a tabula rasa. You know, you have no opinion. You've never seen another piece of its work. The truth is, honestly, I didn't put this in my piece because I didn't have a lot of room. You know, once you pan a playwright's work, if anything, you're going in looking for reasons to change your mind.
Oh.
At least I am. You want to be convinced that, you know, he does have talent because obviously he's being produced, and you know, you really, I'm trying to find things to like about Adam Rapp plays, and I have found, I've been, you know, somewhat, you know, complimentary about some aspects of his work, but that's the truth. I mean, I don't, you know, every time I see another Adam Rapp play, I do go in thinking, please God, let it, you know, and after a dozen of them, I just realize that it's, you know, maybe not going to happen, at least until I stop reviewing them, and then it'll happen.
Let me flip this question, though. Do you find yourself, when you're a champion of Sarah Ruhl or Tracy Letts, playwrights that you've really helped establish, do you find yourself when you go in to see a play of theirs that you don't like as much, do you pull your punches because they're your favorites?
I don't think I've done that. You know, Superior Donuts, which I reviewed in Chicago before I came to New York, which was the first play after August Osage County, which I absolutely adored. I gave it a very tepid review in Chicago. It came to Broadway anyway. I couldn't tell you why. And Sarah Ruhl, one of her plays I definitely didn't like much when I reviewed it in Washington. I did like it a little more a few years later when it came to New York. But, you know, I do judge each show individually, Susan, contrary to what you appear to be implying.
No. But I'm only drawing from what you said in your article. But I did think, well, but all these people who are unemployed critics are thinking, oh God, I wish I had to go to 5 more, you know, Adam Rapp plays this year, and you know, was allowed to have that responsibility.
Well, as I say, by not reviewing his next play, I'm giving one of those critics a chance to...
Susan has got it for that job.
A chance to, you know, review one of his plays, which would probably be produced at a major New York theater. So there you go, Susan. I'm doing someone a favor.
Charles, I do want to ask you about a line in your blog posting that I found quite interesting. You said, frankly, this leaves me contemplating abandoning my vocation to open a yogurt shop in Long Island City. Are you saying that maybe just as a theater critic, you've overstayed your welcome and it's time to do something else? Not just Adam Rapp, but, you know, you've been a critic for so long, it's time to move on and, I don't know, cover the war in Afghanistan?
No, Michael, that was what's called a joke. And, you know, you risk humor at your peril in these kind of things, especially on a blog post. And, of course, a lot of people did take me seriously. There was actually one reader created an actual blog post, Charles Isherwood's Yogurt Shop, with lovely photos of delicious-looking yogurt and quotes from my reviews. I couldn't quite figure out what the connection was.
But that's just one of this largeness. Eric Bentley once said that you really should only be a drama critic for 5 years, and then you should move on and to do other things. Is there some truth to that?
I'm running a little late. You know, I think it actually depends. Eric Bentley wrote, you know, reviews for many, many more years than 5 years.
Yeah, it was 5 years at
Like 90.
at the New Republic, and then he stopped being playwright.
Well, that's
Frank
fine.
Rich eventually he hung it up.
Well, he did it for 13 years. I mean, I think every critic does have a lifespan. I'm hoping mine extends. Well, you know, I'm still enjoying it. I mean, you know, people will jump to the conclusion that I'm just so disgusted. You can't stand. But the fact is that Adam Rapp is such a singular case. He writes 5. He has a very strong voice, and he writes, well, he doesn't write 5 plays a year, but he wrote 5 plays this year that I had to review. So it has nothing to do with how I feel about, in fact, I just saw a fantastic play last night that I would love to talk about.
Which was?
Sons of the Prophet.
Oh, by?
Is by Stephen Karam, which it was one of those things, it reminds you how much you love theater. So, it's absolutely untrue that I'm completely jaded and cynical and want to open a yogurt shop. Although if anyone's got some capital.
The way newspapers are going, Charles, I may dish the yogurt out with you. All right, we just got to wrap it up, but very quickly, Charles, in addition to Adam Rapp, want to give us a couple of other playwrights that you hope never to have to review again?
I most certainly do not, Michael. I've already been, raked over the coals. And as I say, it's a case that he writes so much that,
Yeah, exactly. Well, it was a provocative, a bold statement that you made and got a lot of chatter on the New York Times. And we want to say, Adam Rapp, if you are watching, you are welcome to come on Theater Talk and respond.
Why isn't he here now? What fun that might have been.
That would have been great. Charles Isherwood, great critic for the New York Times. Thanks a lot for being our guest tonight on Theater Talk.
Thank you. Susan, you were really a piece of work.
You can sign up for viewer updates at theatertalk.org.
Or you can Twitter us. Our thanks to the Friends of Theater Talk for their significant contribution to this production.
Theater Talk is made possible in part by the Frederick Lowe Foundation, the Eleanor Naylor Dana Charitable Trust, the Alan S. Gordon Foundation, the CORY and Bob Donnelly Charitable Fund, Carrie J. Fries, the Dorothy STRELSIN Foundation, the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, and the New York State Council on the Arts, a state agency.
We welcome your questions or comments for Theater Talk. Thank you and good night.